What it is, guys, is Vlogmas day number 15. Show you my little shirt. I think I showed you guys this shirt before. This is someone named Rhonda Jordan. She's a radio personality. I don't know if she still does radio, but when I was familiar with her, that's what she did, was radio. But anyways, December the 15th, on my morning walk, I woke up this morning. Well, really, I stayed up late last night first, watching one of my new favorite shows. It's a Lego challenge where people are building all these Lego sculptures and have to do all these challenges with Legos. That show is really cool. So that's my new. I'm sorry if there's wind in the background. I don't know how this is gonna, when I go to edit, how this is gonna sound, but it's bad. I'm so sorry, guys. I promised to try to edit as much of that out as I could. But yeah, so I stayed up late last night I finally got Vlogmas day 10 out. Day 10 was crazy. It's crazy windy out here too. I feel like it's a storm or something. It's like super windy. We don't usually have a lot of wind. But yeah, so I finally got day number 10 out. When I finally released it and put it out, the end of the video didn't even have any sound in it. I'm like, it took a million years to export in the first place because it kept saying that my computer storage was full, my scan disk was full, everything's full. So I kept erasing stuff, and finally it exported. But when it exported, it didn't export properly, so the sound is missing on the end of that Vlogmas. So I cut that part off and I had to put it in a new video. Well, the video itself had cut off when I was recording in the verse because the storage on the phone went full. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe this was my chance to, just finish that verse. That's one of my favorite songs statistically. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's meant for me to finish that whole verse and whatever. So I finished that. I couldn't put the scene together like it was because, of course, I was outside that day when the phone just abruptly just cut off. But I was able to finish the audio. So I did that, edited that, and then I uploaded it. And then just right after that, still watching my little Lego challenge show. And it gave me some ideas. I was telling Marcello I was so excited about these ideas, and he's like, no, Keita, no. If you do those things, you're not going to do the things you already have. Remember your list. Remember your list. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the list that I haven't even touched yet. But, yeah, so I started Vlogmas day 11, editing that. Got all the videos in line on my Premiere profile. And when I went to go ahead and start listening to the audio so that I can edit it and like clip out pieces, I fell asleep. I was knocked out in my MacBook, and my sister's like, Keita, because I go back there to watch TV with her, to spend time with her. I was gonna sit at the dining room table, but I knew, I just knew she wanted me to come in there with her and watch TV. It's just the way that she, kept hinting toward it. So I said, let me go in there and spend time with her. So, it's 5:15 in the morning when she wakes me up, and she's like, Keita, you're snoring. Get up. And I'm like, oh God. I fell asleep in the chair, which messes with my neck, So let me turn around and get back home because I'm about to be late for work. I did close my restaurant last night. But yeah, so she was like, get up because you're sleeping, you're asleep and you're snoring. And I'm thinking it's only an hour later. No, here it is, 5 in the morning. So I go in the room, I lay down, and I think I woke up again like around, I woke up abruptly, like scared, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have, overslept for work. That's how you feel when you wake up suddenly, you don't know what time it is. So I look and I'm like, oh, thank God it's not that time. It's only like 9 o'clock. And I got ready to get up and just, start my day. And a thought hit me like, what's the purpose in this day? What's the purpose? What am I going to do? Get back up, um, record the same old videos, edit the same old videos, create the same old posts on Facebook, do the same old thing that clearly just is not getting me results. So I'm like, what's the point in that? I might as well stay in bed. Let me just lay down until it's almost time for work. And that's not me. That's not me at all. I always want to be making something because each project that I do, I always feel like it's a chance that Marcello could come home. So Marcello's got a number from a lawyer from somebody, so he wanted me to call them. So I was getting up. I said around 10, I said I better just get up. Got up and start trying to Google this person and stuff. Trying to go over in my mind what I'm going to say to them. I hate talking to lawyers because, I don't know, it's like they always say the same thing. We would love to help you, but sorry, it's nothing we can do. And, I already know what to expect from them. So I'm trying to not expect the same thing, but it's like you can't get it out your mind when bad things happen in your life and disappointments happen all the time, like all the time. You don't know how to not expect them. You really don't, unless somebody could just hypnotize me and take all these bad thoughts away. I don't know how to not think them. But yeah, I just pray God just shows me my purpose and let me just live my purpose. Clearly I guess he showed me a long time ago that I would be alone, and I am. So, if I'm going to be alone, it got to be something more than that, than me just living alone. So I must have something else within my purpose besides being alone. But, yeah, so I'm going to go get ready. Now I don't even have time to call the lawyer because when I got ready to call the lawyer, that's when Marcello called me. And, he's going to take precedence. I'm going to talk to him first, of course, because I can't talk to him all day. And he was saying how he was supposed to be called out to the law library. And he's like, because I was telling him I'm trying to think of how do I talk to this lawyer. It's like already knowing their no's. I know the no's. I know everything that's going to lead to a no. So I'm trying to figure how do I formulate it so that it's a yes this time and it's not a no. So that was the thing. And he's like, Keita, I'm kind of like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, why you don't know what to say? He's like, how you don't know what to tell them? And I'm like, you don't know what's going to cause a reaction. Because so far, no matter how much I tell them that was done wrong during trial is trial, and trial is over. So they'll say, most times, they're going to say, well, okay, so I brought up the weapon issue with the last lawyer I talked to. And I was saying that, they didn't even recover a weapon. Like, this weapon is hearsay. How can they charge him, like literally charge him with weapon enhancements without a weapon? If you're going to charge him circumstantially, and there's a lesser offense, which is these charges without a weapon, that's the most it seems that you should be able to do, because you don't have the weapon to prove that a weapon was involved. And they were saying, no, you don't really have to have a weapon to be charged with a weapon. And I was actually looking that up, and they were saying, I was watching a lawyer on YouTube. Oh my gosh. See, this is how I be all around the world and back. I forgot I was supposed to go back and find that lawyer and message him on YouTube about those two ways that they can actually charge you with the gun, but without having the gun. And it was saying without having a gun, it is super hard. It is super hard to charge a person without a gun. But it was on some ground. When I find that, if I find that, okay, so it's gonna be hard because I take a million notes a day, so I have to literally like go through my notes like for weeks, and this is notebooks full of notes. So, but when I find that, I'll go over that with you guys. Maybe you can help me out. I know y'all been on this road and y'all know a lot about the law too, but it's supposed to be much harder to charge somebody with a weapon when you don't recover the weapon, when you don't have a weapon. Now, they're trying to make it seem as though Marcello discarded the weapon before they caught him. But they're lying. Marcello never left their crime scene. So if you're within the crime scene, you never left their perimeter, how could you discard of a weapon? There's no way if Marcello had a weapon, he would have been able to discard of it. The police would have had to have found it if it existed. So if that's the case, if the police found it, if it existed, why didn't it come to court? Why didn't you produce it in court? You should have produced it. None of it makes sense. Like, and it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. If it made sense to me, I would fully accept his sentence and just go sit my behind down some darn where. But it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. But yeah, but in lawyers' minds, it always makes sense. Yeah, they can charge him with a gun without a gun. I'm like, how? But yeah, and then when you bring up all the nonsense that was done during trial, like what we didn't know, we always felt that his lawyer worked against him, but the part that we didn't know was that his lawyer actually ensured that the guys came to court. The guys pressing charges on Marcello did not want to press charges. They actually ran off to 2 different states and didn't want to be a part of it. Well, the reason is because what they said happened never happened. So they were just trying to get away from the police that day. So they gave them whatever the police wanted to hear. But when trial came, they didn't want to show up to court because they knew that stuff was bogus. They knew it was bogus what they were saying. And the police, it's almost like everybody would have knew this was bogus. Everybody should have been able to see through this story. But, you know, they didn't, so they still said what they had to say to get themselves out of it. But then when it was time to come to court, they wouldn't show up. Marcello's own public defender, who's supposed to be publicly defending Marcello, said that if they don't show up to court, because they didn't show up for the first date that court was set, they fled to 2 different states. And he said himself, if they don't show up the next time when the judge continues this case, instead of letting it go, that, you know, we're going to have to let you go. So that means you just let it play out and Marcello would have been free. But instead, that same lawyer said, well, let me go out of town and see, can I make them, force them to come to court? And the reason I say force is because prior to the first court date, they had sent out 3 subpoenas apiece to both of these people. Come to court. You said Marcello robbed you and did this, 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 and this. You need to come to court to press charges against him. They ignored all 3 each. So that's a total of 6 subpoenas that they all ignored. 6 subpoenas. How many times does it take me to get to court for somebody who violated me, who was about to out me? It's not going to take that many subpoenas. I need you called. I need you to be called. But that doesn't make sense. Why did they not want to come to court? That's very questionable. Why didn't you show up to court? But You did show up, and both of y'all had completely different stories, and y'all were caught in lie after lie. You said this, and then you turn it around and you say that, and everybody are watching you like, what the heck is going on? These people keep going back and forth. They say one thing, then they say another thing, and even themselves, now they're conflicting themselves, and then they're conflicting against one another. So none of y'all stories are making any type of sense, right? So he, the lawyer, goes and says, you know what? If I send out these subpoenas and they are not accepted, nobody's going to show up to court and press charges against Marcello. So, him being Marcello's own public defender said, we can't have that. He went to the court and he asked the court, he said, I need to travel the victims against this crime, the alleged victims really. They traveled and moved away from Orlando to 2 different states, not the same state. Wouldn't they flee together? No, they fled to 2 different states. So he says, he petitions the court, can I get money for travel and lodging to state number 1 so that I can subpoena the victim's alleged victim number 1 in person? And when I subpoena him in person, he cannot say he didn't get it. He can't reject it. So then he went and he asked that the court allow him to go to state, give him money to go for travel and lodging to state number 2. And the court granted it. The court be so stingy on what they grant, but they granted that. They gave that money. They gave that money, honey. And he subpoenaed 2 in person. Like, so when we show up on court day, me and Marcello, we're riding the elevator up, and I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. How is this happening? And blah, blah, blah. And Marcello's like, shh, shh, be quiet, Keita. And I'm like, why? He said, that's them. I'm like, who? He said, the alleged victims, that's them. They get on the elevator with us. They're standing all calm and cool, like, oh, I'm just riding the elevator with my somewhat killer that was supposed to kill me. Like, I'm just riding the elevator up with him. Okay, so one of the guys was like shaking and fidgeting and acting all crazy. He really appeared to be on substances. And now when I researched this victim, he has so many DUIs, driving under the influence. I don't know if it's influence of alcohol or substances. He has so many that where he has been sentenced to rehab and stuff like that. Like, so he is a known substance abuser. Now, fast forward, he clearly has that track record. But back then, they kept referring to him as a little innocent young man. Like, that man clearly was intoxicated or under the influence while he stood trial. But they still let him stand trial. He's like, and he's saying this. And then, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I meant this. Oh, no, that ain't what I meant. I meant this. But, sir, you said this. No. I meant this, but I said this. That's how freaking trial went. And every time I explain all these issues, the lawyers tell me, well, sounds like he got a raw deal. But, number 1, too much time has passed. And it costs money to research an old case like that. It costs a lot of money for an old case because this case is old now. It's like a cold case. It is a cold case because ain't nobody fucking touching it. But then they tell me those are issues that should have been brought up during trial. Well, we didn't know that during trial. Oh, they said, oh, that's okay that you didn't know that. That's something you should have known, but you didn't bring it up. So, I don't know. It's hard for me not to expect a no. I'm sorry, y'all. I want to be positive, but it is so hard for me not to expect a no because that's all I hear after 20 years of calling and reaching out to these lawyers. All right, y'all, I'm about to be late for work, I'm sure. I'm about to be footing it running. So I'm just going to upload this one if I ain't got nothing on my face, girl, once I watch the playback. All right, love you guys. Pray for me, please, because I'm going through it. And I'll say a prayer for you as well. All right, guys. It's your girl Cadillac.